Huntington Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, July 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Silka.
Commissioner Stump.
Here.
Commissioner Atwood.
Here.
Commissioner Blasco.
Here.
Commissioner Zona.
Here.
Commissioner Bevan.
Here.
Commissioner Goss.
Here.
Commissioner Haggis.
Here, could everyone please stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If any residents would like to speak tonight, could you please sign the book at the podium? Thank you. Our first resident is Rick. Could you just come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please?
Name's Rick Keenan, 700 Lager Road, North Huntington. And first, I want to thank Commissioner Zona for the good job he did in getting some of the politics out of the police department, and freeing the police up for police business. Now, the second reason I'm here is a situation that happened on Saturday, 9:30 p.m. I called 863-8800 to alert North Huntington Police of gunfire from the adjoining property. Now, this wasn't a couple shots. This was shooting, blowing off clips. And we were outside and heard the slugs hitting the trees beside our place. As I said, it wasn't a nuisance call like a dog complaint or anything like that. And the fellow that answered the phone, the tone of his voice and the way he talked was as if I was bothering him. And he said he would send a car when available. Now, somebody could have been laying down there dead or gotten shot. This isn't a dog complaint. This is a gunfire complaint. Then they hung up. I hung up and turned on my outside lights and waited for the arrival. Right after, there was a second round, the same thing, about another 8-10 shots. And this wasn't somebody taking aim and shooting, it was somebody blowing off clips. Now, we waited around until 12 o'clock. Never got a call back, and no one ever showed up. Now, about a year ago, I had a problem here, and I reported about the speed on Lager Road. Now, it's much worse than it was before, and also we have, as all you know, there's a trucking company back there that goes in there with 102 wide trailers. Now, it's only 6 inches wider than the standard, but you need a little more room. There's a fellow operating a sign company. He has vehicles, boom truck parked, and the boom is sticking clear out on past the pavement of the road. And when the garbage trucks and these trucks come in, if you're on the other side, you have to stop and wait for them to get through or go off the road. Also, in front of Waste Management, their employees are parking, and they're on the right-of-way. Some of them are actually on the asphalt. And the trucking company is beyond that they have to go on by it. Now, there's this speed is really bad, and my wife almost got hit at the mailbox getting mail, and there's a little black doodle bug that comes up through with real loud exhaust on it, and he guns it at the bottom of the hill and sees how close he can come to you when you're getting out of the mailbox. We also have unlicensed quads running up and down the street. Like I said, there's a little black Bug, a black Honda, and a white Honda are the worst offenders. Last year, I was told by a member of the board here that they could not, the North Huntington Police could not ticket anybody on Legger Road because it was a state road. Now, I want to know how they can stop or ticket anybody on Route 30 if that be true. That's a state road too, I believe. Now, in closing, I see many signs. Support your local police in the area. Life is a two-way street, as we all know. How about some support from the North Huntington Police to the residents? And as much as you are here, Chief, I would like you to address this situation. Thank you.
Thanks. Next resident is Greg. If you don't mind to come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Greg Bittner. I live at 10471 Farview Drive, North Huntington. We're in the process of a subdivision, and as recently as this past Thursday, I was notified that I needed to bond a pretty nice barn on my property. I've tried 2 local banks. I've tried the insurance companies. I've been told they need direction from the township, and the township is saying that I need to get something from the bank or whoever. I need a direction to go with this. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I don't agree with it. I don't know why I have to do that, because I have full intentions on building a home as soon as I get all the final approvals, which I believe this is probably and hopefully my last one, other than the DEP mandate on a manhole that I put in probably 3.5, 4 years ago. I will move forward with it, but I need direction on what to do. And to the best of my knowledge, I understand this is, if not the first, one of the first where this has been done. Can anybody help me and direct me and tell me where to go? I think as recently as today, my wife had contact, and the township wants, it's no longer a bonding issue, but $20,000 set aside in a liquid account for the township only to have access to. Is that correct?
Typically, if you bring up your concerns, and we'll respond to all the residents' concerns afterwards. It's not a give and take, but yeah, I mean, we'll do what we can to give you some direction. And it's not the first property we've done this before. We've done it with other properties in the past few years.
But if somebody would, I mean, at least see the barn, I mean, they would have to know it's not just a 40, 50, 60-year-old old dilapidated barn. I mean, we're going to build out close to it with a new home. All of our intentions are up and forward. We've done everything that we've needed to, I think, that we've asked. You know, the surveyor is done. We've reinitiated Paula Drive to extend further to gain proper road frontage. So I've had the surveyors out 2, 3 times. I just need help.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next resident is Tom. If you don't mind coming up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Thomas Semple, 1259 Julia Street, North Huntington. I'm here again, ladies and gentlemen, to publicly thank every one of you again. I'll keep doing it. As I always say, if you can't say something good from your mouth, don't say it. But I'm here tonight to publicly say thank you to our North Huntington Township Police Department. June the 30th, some of you attended. Commissioner Zona, Commissioner Goss was in attendance. But those that could not make it, it was an unbelievable event. June the 30th, we celebrated Back to Blue in celebration of our 2 police departments, North Huntington and Irwin. We weren't sure, and I'm speaking on behalf of the committee, we weren't sure what that really was going to entail, because if everybody remembers June 30th, it poured. And we were prepared, but it would probably been half of the people that we expected. Chief, you'll verify that we had probably 300 people in attendance. It was an awesome event. It shows the support that we have in our community, that we support our police. And I'll have to say, I'm responsible for those. We support our police, because I do, and majority of the people out in our community do, and it shows it. So I publicly am here just tonight to thank our North Huntington Township Police. Chief, you do a great job. We appreciate it. Thank you. Also, Planning Commission people already are in place for next year's event. As I stated that night, I stated at another meeting prior here, that it is going to be a bigger and better event. It's going to be a public service event. We're in the planning stages for it to happen next year. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Our last resident tonight is Bob. If you don't mind coming up, saying your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name's Bob Morgan, and I live on 871 Northeast Drive in North Huntington. I have a couple of concerns or issues. I don't know if there's any answers for it, but from what I understand, there's not a senior center right now operating, but can the township somehow help find a way for these seniors to meet or even build a community center in this area? I know other townships our size have athletic fields. Hempfield has a huge complex. We're lacking this in this township. And from what I understand, I talked to Rich Gray, and sometimes, my daughter lives up in Du Bois. They have a fantastic athletic complex. I don't know how they get the funding through the state, but I talked to Rich, and he says sometimes when you're a better, well-to-do community, you don't get that funding. But that has to be addressed and corrected. Just because we live in a community that we work hard to better ourselves, we're entitled to that too. And so are our kids, so are our seniors. But I just think we should look into that, get some kind of funding, or maybe hire a consultant or somebody to look into that and say, hey, we need to help this community out with this. I think that's needed. I think it's long overdue, because we don't have YMCA, we have nothing here. And at this size of the township, I think it should be here. And another thing off the wall is there a list of paving streets soon or not? I don't know what's going on with that, so, because my street's getting kind of bad. So other than that, I think that's all. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, response assistant input. Rick was the first one. He had some concerns about a police matter on his property. I think, Chief, if you could follow up, maybe we can give you his information. You can reach out to him and maybe give some information why we don't respond, or if they were busy. Yeah, exactly. You can follow up with him. And then maybe, too, if we can maybe put a few more patrols out on Lager Road with the speeding and maybe quad riding on the road. Yeah. All right. Anything else with some of Rick's concerns? All right. And then next was Mr. Bittner. I know, I think I spoke with maybe your wife, and like I said, it's not the first time, Ryan can correct me, I think we probably had a handful over the past few years that we had a request to put in a bond on, just to ensure that the property, new structure was built.
There have been. This is the first time since I've taken over
Yeah.
that one has come through, so I was a little bit unclear on the process.
But I don't know, Jeff, I mean, if we could give you, I say I agree, if we got to give you whatever direction to get a bond or whatnot, can we do that for Mr. Bittner?
Sure. I mean, probably the easiest way is to get an irrevocable letter of credit from the bank, which they guarantee that this amount is available and available to us, and only we can release it. That's probably the easiest. I mean, whenever we say it needs to be bonded, bond's kind of a generic term. You could, go through a surety company, get a performance bond. We had one company did bond for for the demolition of the home. They wrote a policy specifically for that. And what we do is we secure the performance on that is through a memorandum of understanding between the township and the property owner. So that it's laid out, here's what has to be done for the bond to be released. If, you know, if the property is not developed and it's not torn down, then, you know, we would use the funds to demo the property. If everything happens, then it's released. But probably the irrevocable letter of credit would be the best way to do it, to post that surety.
Is that the only option? I mean,
Well, no, I mean, there's a cash option. I mean, you could put cash on, or, you know, you have to talk to a surety company to get an insurance policy on that.
well, I did that through my insurance company.
If you don't mind,
Yeah.
Mr. Bender, if you don't mind coming up, if there's going to be some giving back, if you don't mind coming back up to the podium. And even too, if you want to reach out to the manager, I mean, you guys can talk too to figure this out and maybe can give you some further direction even. I think you said before, people have used S&T Bank
Yes.
before in the past,
That
so they
was
might
the
be.
first one that we called
familiar
today,
with, yeah.
or the other day. And there's we got no
Yeah.
more forward with it, with talking with them. There is somebody working on it, and it could take a while to get. Now, like I said, I'm not opposed to doing it. Well, I don't see the need, but I'm not opposed to doing it. But I guess my next question in coupling up with that would be, am I going to be okayed, let's say tonight, upon that being completed?
I don't,
No, that would be a condition, and then once that's satisfied, then the subdivision can be recorded, and we still have to wait for the sewage planning. So you can get the approval tonight with that being a condition, but that can be handled in time. So it's not like you had to have it done tonight.
Tonight, no.
Correct.
I kind of assumed that. That was the reason I just asked. We're going to move forward with it. We're trying our best, but we're like at a dead end with it right now. And S&T and Dollar Bank were the two local banks we contacted. I contacted State Farm Insurance. They know where to go. They'd never heard of it before. Actually, State Farm Insurance, my agent had never heard of something like that before.
okay, it's probably something that's outside the realm of a residential agent. What we could do is, I'm going on vacation after this meeting. If we get it approved, you know, I'll be back the first week of August. We can probably work this through, because, you know, we deal with S&T Bank out of their Indiana, Pennsylvania offices. We have some of our larger developers who post all their cash bonds and letters of credit. So, you know, we can give you some of the companies that we have bonds sitting here for, and then that can kind of, you know, maybe get you to contact another, you know, agency that does bonds and sureties.
But this is the only route to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what's going to be
Yeah.
voted on tonight. That's what the board's discretion was last month at the planning.
To place that condition,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's because you're asking to go contrary to what the ordinance states. You know, with the subdivision, you now have a structure that is basically illegal in the townships. So
After 18 months or illegal immediately?
illegal as soon as the subdivision is recorded.
But you have 18 months to complete a build, or to start a build, or
And that-
complete a build, correct?
Yeah, and that's what the bond's for, is within that 18 months, you'll satisfy that, then that structure would have to be removed, correct? I mean, because that structure can't stay on can't be a primary structure on a solo lot.
But I can't even move forward, I'm selling my existing home to my son, so I can't even move forward with doing that until I have a subdivision, am I correct?
Correct.
You see where I'm at? To me, I'm at a roadblock when I'm not making any headway with the banks, the insurance companies. I mean, I'll take any information you can give me.
I understand. I mean, you know, you're the first person that ever came up with the problem that they can't secure the surety. I mean, it's been done on three residential lots to date, and then, you know, all of our developers post bond on all the work they do. So it's solvable. I think we just have to get in the right direction.
Okay, I mean, I'll take any name and number, especially if it's out of the Indiana office, because naturally, we deal local here.
Well, it's the same, it's just their parent company.
No, I know that, but
Yeah.
I mean, if that person's out of the Indiana office, we'll contact
Okay.
them tomorrow.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll get Ryan the information, and he'll work with, and he'll get in contact with you either the end of this week or early next week.
Okay,
And then I'll be back again the 1st of August. If it's still not worked out, we'll find a way to get you in the right direction.
but that is the only thing I need to satisfy the subdivision, I'm
Correct.
asking.
And the
the
sewage
sewage.
planning,
Well, yeah.
which that'll come in time too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Citizen response, or excuse me, board response to Tom's comment, just thanking the police department and his event. I appreciate your effort with that, Tom.
I have one question for Tom. Where can we get signs?
We just ordered 50 more Pelerinos Car Wash and Boone's Candy.
Cool. I've been stopping at both places for a while, and they're always sold out, so that's a good thing.
You know, going back some time, this year it's going to be more localized, where that we don't have to mobilize all the equipment, move it, so we're actually having some cost savings for the township and can actually pave more street or more miles of road. And then for the senior and rec center, I can speak to this because I was on the board. I guess it's probably going back 10 years now, maybe. There was a big group of people real interested in having a lavish community center. I think like the one that was maybe in Upper St. Clair area. And we did a feasibility study. We actually worked with them, and they did a lot of legwork. And at the time, they wanted to build a complex. If I'm maybe mistaken, at the time it might have been like $12 million to build a complex, let alone to upkeep it. And at the time, I wasn't willing to have the taxpayers pay that kind of money. As far as like you're talking about, why don't we get different type of state or federal funding? This is probably the wrong board to take that up with. It'd probably be more so your state reps or your federal representatives of asking them why North Huntington wouldn't receive the same kind of funding as, you know, communities that are maybe a little bit different than us.
So, you said there was a plan 10 years ago with an astronomical cost. Is there anything that would be more feasible, sized down? Or
I mean,
even added on to this complex here that could accommodate seniors to?
I mean, this room that we're currently having our meeting in is available for space. If people want to use it, I know that I think different people used it before in the past. I think the Boy Scouts used it before, and you know, other community memberships and groups have used this, you know, meeting room itself and other rooms.
So you'd just have to make arrangements through the township to set up time that they could do that then, correct?
Yeah.
All right. We'll
But
see
like I
what-
said, in the past, the plan was a lot of money, and at the time, the board did not want to move forward with putting that burden on the taxpayers.
Well, I understand that, but I just needed some answers, that's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Morgan, if I can readdress, if I may? If you want to come back up to the podium, I'm sorry. Okay, so there is a senior center right now that they are using the Penns Woods Civic Association over in Penns Woods.
Okay.
And that civic association is sandwiched in between
I know where it's at.
Ron's
My-
ward, Ward 5, and my
Okay.
ward, Ward 7. And it's off of either Ormsby Drive or Colonial Manor. So they do have a senior thing going on over there. One of our Vietnam veterans I believe he is the president, Paul. And so they do have that. In regards to the athletic fields, I've been looking into the athletic field thing. You know, the president talked about it for just a little under a year. I've had a few constituents come up to me and ask about athletic fields. And I will tell you, the township is pressed for space, for land. I know that we talked about maybe doing an athletic field. I shouldn't say we. I have to be careful what pronouns I use. The space just doesn't seem to be there right now. Not only that, there is the cost. On top of the cost, there is the upkeep. And there is the personnel that's needed to man said spaces, to allow people in to coordinate. This, and like the president was saying, the upper one up in Upper St. Clair, they were looking at $12 million. And, you know, my God, that is a hell of a bill for any township, let alone ours, or even Upper St. Clair, that can probably afford that. I'm not sure that we could, but I know that there are wiggle room. The offer was to come here, Penns Woods Civic Association, I'm sure. Maybe the old racquetball court, which is
Okay,
now.
but with the athletic complex, let me see if I can get in touch with somebody up in the DuBois area.
Yeah,
Maybe I could find out how they are getting that funding. Because I'm telling you, they got $6 million. It's like a miracle field up there.
wow.
It's astronomical.
Well, there's one off of Interstate 70.
Yeah, up in Cranberry too.
Yep, Cranberry.
Where Dick's-
That's Dick's Sporting Goods
Yes,
did that.
yes.
But I just don't think, honest to God, brother, I don't think that the land is around here for us.
Well, there's land if you have to find it. Some of it's hidden, that's all.
heading in. There is, and please understand, I'm not trying to be a naysayer. There is the desire to have a center. Absolutely, I've heard it from a lot of people, and I totally get it. I would love to see it. At what cost?
I understand that.
And what
Even
personnel,
if we
yeah.
start out small and then build up from there, it doesn't have to be something immediately,
Sure.
it would just be
It's a great idea.
it would be just a, how do I want to put the wording? It would be a plus for the township if we had something like that.
Sure.
I'm just saying, because some of the fields we have now for the kids, it's, so, I shouldn't say disgusting, but it's not what it should be. Should I say that?
Well, Mr. Dan is Parks and Recreation. Dan, you sublet fields out, don't you guys, through your office and your borough?
We do, and we're maxed out with the fields that we have
Like
available
with
to the
PAL and
township.
NCAA?
Correct.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we can work on.
I appreciate
All
it.
right, thank
Man, I
you.
wish I had better news for you.
Yeah,
I know
me
we all
too.
do, but,
I just wanted the answers. I just didn't know what was going on.
well, thank you.
Any other board response to citizens' input?
I'd like to redirect, if I may, with Mr. Rick Keenan's.
Yeah.
Rick, give me a second here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the booms, and I know exactly what you're talking about by the mobile park home. Is that right? At the triangle, near the mobile park off of Route 30, off Lager?
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that, Ryan, if that's okay, I think that's a job for code enforcement to take a look at that. Is that right? Because, I mean, this gentleman's he's got some significant vehicles that are extending beyond his driveway.
he also has a junkyard for old
Old
signs.
signs. That's another
And
thing.
the junkyard keeps getting closer to the road, and he has a boom truck with a big boom on it, and naturally, as it comes out, the boom comes out further on the road, and the boom is the tires are behind the asphalt, but the boom is sticking out in the road.
Is this where Crown comes up to meet Legger, right at that point?
Right
Okay.
in that little triangle there.
Okay.
And yesterday, when I came in, he had a boom truck parked halfway on the road. You had to go around it, and he was loading stuff. The area isn't big enough for the business he's running, and he's using the road. And to do it, and all these, there's junk signs, I was told quite a few years back, it's illegal to park vehicles on grass in North Huntington. He's got all kinds of stuff parked in his yard. There's crates up there, Eric probably saw them, there's empty crates, there's these signs, there's a sign for Volvo trucks turned upside down, there's a whole pile of this. And all these vehicles, he's got about, I'm gonna say, well, he just got another boom truck. There's 2 boom trucks up there, and I think 2 smaller trucks to carry stuff, plus his cars and so on.
Yeah, I'll have the code officer take a look at it this
And
week.
It's right across the street from Junkie Trailer Court that has almost as much junk as he's
Yeah,
got.
yeah, and I know where you're talking about. We'll take a look at it.
Is that a residence, Rick? Do you know if that's a
He
residence?
lives there. At one time,
Yeah.
he moved out of there, and he was at Zeke's Junkyard down there on 48, down right there before you get to the shopping center. And he was down there, and then he moved out of there, and they tore that building down and put all them storage buildings in it, and he moved back up to that house. Now, at one time, it was just a house, and he was running it out of his garage, and it has gotten bigger, and it's too big for the,
So the question is it a business being run out of a residence? And if so, is it zoned
I
properly?
don't know. I don't know how it's zoned.
Yeah.
That was all zoned R4 up there at one time.
Yeah, there's some commercial and industrial mixed in there. I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is.
When Waste Management come in, there was some shifting, we'll put it that way, of zoning.
Well, Rick, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Anything else from the board? All right. Approval of meetings minutes for the special meeting 6/10/21.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. for the regular meeting 6/16/21.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by saying an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Payment of bills.
Motion to approve voucher number 11736 through voucher number 11819.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a couple questions. Bottom of page 1, there's a charge to Colker Janitorial Supply. How often do we get a charge like that? Is that monthly? Is that quarterly?
Yeah, for 3,200. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, we're probably just stocking. That's probably just, that's multiple invoices, we're just kind of restocking. We were kind of high stocked because we were kind of hyper buying through, for the COVID last year, so now we're just replenishing our stocks.
Okay. Next one is the last one on the second page. Sherlock Pipe Band Blue Lube for $8,000. Is that like just a one-time thing, or is that a reoccurring thing?
What's the voucher number? Okay.
11774.
It's on the bottom of the,
Bottom of page 2.
okay.
8779.
It's up here on the top.
It has a Pennsylvania one-call system on it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing it.
It's the very last line on the top page there. On your top page.
This one?
Yep.
Here you
Pipe-
go.
Very last line.
Okay.
See it?
Okay, yes.
Right here.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Rich, what, is that?
Again, if you could say the name, I don't have the.
It's,
It just says. it's
Pipelines
for
Incorporated.
Pipelines, Inc. for Sherlock Pipe Band and Blue Lube.
Oh, okay. Pipelines is our vendor that we deal with for pipe. And, those are different materials that we're using. And it's our stock that we use for preparation.
How often do we make a buy like that?
I wouldn't say frequently, but there's, and I don't have my budget here, but I mean, we spend a considerable amount of money every year on, drainage, supplies for the road program and et cetera. So, I mean, we're looking at, tens of thousands. I'm not even off the top of my head, I shouldn't even say how much we spend in drainage and supplies with the budget. My book's not here this evening, but that all comes, it's just not pipe, it's inlets and frames and stuff, that all comes out of that line item. And Pipelines is our vendor that we put out for bid.
Rich, is that piping for 8779, is that being stockpiled, or is that being used specifically for what's the word I'm looking for?
A project
For a
that's
project.
going on.
Thank you.
That's being stockpiled.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
especially nowadays with the supply chain, slacking, we need to have supplies stockpile. We always keep a stockpile down at our site of different diameter pipes and inlets and et cetera. But right now, we're trying to get as much as we can.
I know it's a little off the subject, but are you guys rotating said stock? In other words, as the new stuff comes in, it goes to the back of the shelf, and then the old stuff gets used. But I know it's based on what kind of job is being performed. So this I do know based on diameter of piping. But, I mean, are you guys using the old stuff before you're using the new stuff based on the parameter, the diameter of the pipe?
I would say, yes and no. We put it in our stockpile. That pipe's polyethylene pipe, and it lasts longer than you and I. It's plastic, so it's gonna last forever. So
Okay.
whether or not, we're moving it up to using the older stuff first,
Right.
it's really irrelevant.
It's just a question, because I know stuff degrades.
Yes.
I know that stuff degrades, and, so that was the premise on my question.
The grates and frames, that they're still, we use them. We do have some on stockpile, but we're using them constantly, so we don't have a great deal of grates and frames based on the fact that they're metal. But, our pipe, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
It'll
Thanks.
last forever.
Thank you.
One more for you, Jeff. 2D Mechanical,
Yes.
line item 11789.
Yes.
Was that for the refrigeration issue here?
Yes, we're basically charging our air conditioner about once a month now to keep
Okay.
it going until we get it replaced. So that is part.
That's going to be continuous until we can get it we can get a new one in.
Yeah, we'll be doing that till the end of summer.
Okay. And I lied, I have one more.
Okay.
Line item is 11798, this possibly goes to Rich also. It's for highway and street signs.
Okay.
$2,500. How often do we do something like that?
You know, I would say quite often. We have a stockpile of signs down at our Public Works facility. We have a designated sign department with a sign room. We have, you know, as you can imagine, with the township this size, you know, we have to have a stockpile of like different stop signs, street signs. You know, we don't have, those are street signs obviously have to be custom made. So, you know, we may have 3 or 4 of street signs of, you know, one street down there, because you never know when it, you know, we're gonna need one, and it could happen, you know, 2 weeks from now. You know, we install a new sign, 2 weeks from now it gets damaged or missing, or et cetera. Along with the fact that, you know, we're trying to replace all the signs throughout the township. It was mandated some years back, you know, with the high-intensity signage and you know, so we're going through each ward, and we're taking it section at a time, because at some point, you know, everybody's gonna have to be in compliance. So, you know, we're taking it, it's been a huge expenditure over the years, but we've been taking it gradually as we go. So we've been replacing signs through different wards, ward at a time. You know, we have I believe a $20,000 budget for signs, and we pretty much go close to spending that amount of money every year. So, I mean, if it's a few $1,000 this month, it could be, you know, not only the signs, you need all the hardware that goes with it, the poles and the bases and all the other stuff. So, we pretty much come close to using the whole budget line item, you know, every year.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other discussion on payment of bills? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Okay, we have a proclamation for dedicating July 2021 as Parks and Recreation Month. Dan, do you have some people in the audience you want to?
Yes, if I may, as an expression of support and thanks for that proclamation, we have a few members of our Recreation Advisory Board committee here. They're all volunteers. The president of our advisory board, Sharon Matters, is here. In the back, Paul Diggleman is a new member of our Recreation Advisory Board, and departing earlier with 2 small children, our secretary was Carly Painter. And again, they were all here as an expression of support for the recognition of Parks and Recreation Month this month.
Okay, with your permission, I'll read the proclamation. Okay, proclamation, Township of North Huntington, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, designating July 2021 Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including North Huntington Township, Westmoreland County. And whereas our Parks and Recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas North Huntington Township, Westmoreland County, recognizes the benefits derived from Parks and Recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved by the North Huntington Township Board of Commissioners that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the Township of North Huntington, Westmoreland County.
Thanks. Staff reports, Public Works report, Director Albert. Anything to add here tonight?
I have nothing more to add, thank you.
Any questions on Public Works? Thank you. Park and Recreation, Director Miller. Anything to add to your report tonight, other than just thanking your board being here tonight and thank you for the work they do?
Nothing more to add to the report, but just a couple of comments, if I may. Number one, again, Paul, who was here, Sharon, and Carly, they represent the Recreation Advisory Board, which hosts programs and events in the community. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank and recognize also our park labor staff. They're the guys that are kind of down in the trenches that are doing the cleaning and the maintaining of the park. So on behalf of myself, the department, the advisory board, and our labor staff, I want to thank you for that recognition. You know, we're honored to be celebrated through this month of July. Our township parks, as you know, were used an unprecedented amount of time during COVID. And it just, again, proved that we are essential to local government. So the recognition goes a long way for those fellows. One more thing, continuing with the celebration of Parks and Recreation Month in this month of July, I do want to remind you that we'll be continuing to celebrate tomorrow with an introductory to fishing program. It's a free fishing program at Indian Lake for all ages, from youth to senior citizens. Anybody can take part in that, and that's at Indian Lake tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. We also continue on Friday with our movies in the parks. And one other bittersweet comment today, I would like to at least let the board know. I know Manager Silke is aware today. He stopped out at the park to recognize this fellow. But we've had an employee that was 26 years here who officially retired from the Parks Department. And I'd like to publicly thank Rick Sima for his work in the township for 26 years.
Thanks.
Can I say something there? Yeah. I just wanted to say thanks for, and thank all your ladies and men that work for you. I have used the parks a lot last summer, and this summer I was just at Indian Lake again today, and they're in the best shape possible. There's nothing further you can do to them to make them any better. They're in awesome shape. Just thank your guys, and thanks the job that you
Will do. Thank you, Commissioner Zona.
Anything else from the board on parks? All right. Thank you, Director Miller. Police report, Chief Rizzo.
I have nothing to add.
All right. Any questions for the chief tonight? Thanks, Chief. Emergency management report?
I'll make it quick so I don't get beat up.
Okay.
Okay, emergency management's been on a roll. What we're doing right now is been big on the training, and you're gonna be getting this. You guys have been looking for this. It's the staff, what everybody's doing. In the next coming month, we got some individualized training coming up, and we're building up a good team. I wanted to share with you what our mission is, and what we'll say in our, I call it the emergency operations plan. That's not an event plan. The North Huntington Office of Emergency Management is staffed by volunteer citizens in the township area. Our primary objective is the safety and well-being and care of people in the township of North Huntington during the disaster. Our staff maintains trained and prepared mission for readiness response in a disaster event. Dr. Louis Pasteur had a great saying that I adopted as our motto. Chance favors the prepared mind, and that's what we're going to go do. We're going to prepare ourselves for the worst, hopefully never see it, and that is my goal, and the team's really on it. Now, I had one little thing I wanted to lastly say is that I lost two guys, one to move to Arizona to be with his family in relocation. The other one had a heart attack and had to quit. I will like to replace those two, and that's it. So I will seek anybody in the township that's interested in becoming a member to get a hold of me through the township website or other. I thank you for your support.
Great. Thank you.
Be safe. God bless.
Fire officials report. Any questions on the fire officials report tonight? Subdivision land development, Director Fonzie.
Just two items set for your approval tonight. The first is subdivision 15 of 2021 JP Land Holdings, requesting board action to approve this boundary line revision.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
And lastly, subdivision 16 of 2021, the Bittner Revision 1 plan. This would include the aforementioned two conditions that we spoke about with the sewage planning and the requirement for a bond. Requesting board action to approve with those two conditions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
And that's everything I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Solicitor's report, Solicitor Alexander.
Thank you. Two action items on the solicitor's report this evening. First is action to approve an ordinance of the Township of North Huntington amending Ordinance 2244, which prohibits the use of tobacco in recreation areas, parks, and playgrounds to authorize penalties of civil and/or criminal fines for violations of the ordinance.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. Let me just throw this out. So smoking's a no-no, but alcohol use is okay. And I got a problem with that. I do. I have a wife that smokes, and by God, I wish she wouldn't. It's just not healthy. I know people that drink more than they should. Man, that ain't healthy either. I worry about children being around tobacco. I worry just as much about children being around alcohol. I don't think that there is a place in our life, in our society, and I can't tell people what to do. You know, we all answer to God one day. But I'll tell you something, man, I'm just not cool with kids being around alcohol, and I'm not cool with them being around tobacco. And I sure would like to see ordinance 2244 not only say prohibit the use of tobacco, but also prohibit the use of alcohol. We have a moral problem in this country anymore, and it is becoming growingly, alarmingly scary. And I think there are parents, good parents across this country that are deeply concerned about where we're going morally. This board is not going to be able to handle that situation. That is on a much greater level. Now it's also on a spiritual level. But I'll tell you what, I will do my part and do my due diligence to protect the kids. And that means protect them from tobacco and alcohol. And it also means protecting them from other people, predators, and so on and so forth. So I really am asking to see alcohol be added to this ordinance. I have spoken my piece.
Any other board discussion?
I would just say, I'm in support of this ordinance 2244 because I think there's a difference between tobacco and alcohol. Secondhand smoke, it's proven that it causes cancer, and obviously we don't want children around that. Alcohol, and again, what we're going to talk about later with alcohol at the parks, that's more regulated. Somebody can drink alcohol. I drink alcohol. I can keep myself in the proper condition, and so I think there's a big difference there. So I do support this ordinance.
I just have one comment, and my concern is about enforcement, and maybe the chief can answer. Are we going to have to put more patrols on, or just the routine patrols in the parks? Are those good enough? Or are we gonna have
that's
to-
what kind of drove this was complaints. Dan's obviously not here, but he had received some complaints. I think it was based out at Indian Lake, mainly from the fishing community, I think is what kind of drove some of the complaints. So we had put up, we haven't put it into motion yet, but we have a plan to just include that on like a patrol for the sector cars. So it will take the officers a little more time, but it'll be, also they'll be seen in the community in a park. So, that there is a plan in place once the ordinance is passed for us to do this. Now, obviously, we don't want to be walking around issuing citations and getting into confrontations. And I also put a plan in place to get some warning pads created, which I just got in. The officers are able to then document if they encounter somebody, give them a warning notice that, there's no smoking in the park, and we create an incident and we document it that way to try to give people a break the first time around. So that's kind of how we decided to approach this. I think it's probably the easiest way, kind of out of the gate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I was wondering about the signage then. If we just have a sign that says no smoking, can we also say that there will be fines?
Well, the signs we have is the ordinance, and all we're doing is amending the ordinance to be able to give us enforcement. So I think to put that on the sign would probably be just adding verbiage, because the ordinance bans smoking. So after, one contact of a warning, and then the second, you're in violation of the ordinance, and then the police have the power to act upon and actually enforce the ordinance. So I don't think it would be necessary to re-sign the park for that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Are we currently allowed to drink alcohol in our parks?
No.
Does that have the teeth behind it, like the smoking ordinance will now? Like if someone gets caught drinking in the park, can they get cited?
Right now?
Yes.
I'd imagine they'd probably get charged with open container or something.
We don't have it.
Brian, I don't know the ordinance off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm not sure what the.
But I mean, like, that has teeth, though. Like, we can cite somebody for drinking alcohol in the parks.
Again, I don't have
Yeah.
the ordinance in front of me to review.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the ordinance. I don't
Yeah, we
know.
currently
Jay,
don't
Jay,
permit
do
it.
you know?
I'm not sure if there's,
So it's basically,
I don't know. I'd have to look at the ordinance. I know that the previous smoking one didn't have any
yeah, our park rules prohibit alcohol.
prohibit alcohol. in the
Not,
park.
So if
you may have the same void that the smoking ordinance had. There was no enforceability clause.
And I don't know that. I have to look at it.
Now, before you say, just for everybody that's listening, everybody needs to understand, if that's the case, if you guys are telling me there's no alcohol in our parks right now, and we're getting ready to do the park pavilion alcohol permit, then what's wrong with adding alcohol onto 2244?
2244 is young lungs at play. It is a specific ordinance geared at smoking. It's not it was a specific campaign that we put in to enforce smoking in the parks. So that's why, alcohol would have a separate ordinance.
Okay, that's important to understand, because I'm gonna tell you something. I believe that there are 99% of the people in this township that don't know all the ordinances, and it behooves us to explain a little bit more in depth and let them know that, okay, folks, as of tonight now, everybody watching knows that alcohol is not permitted in the parks.
What's currently posted in all our parks on the park rules.
It's everywhere in the parks.
Okay, all right, you got me. Don't know what else to say.
All right, any other board discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. The second action item is action to approve an ordinance of the Township of North Huntington prohibiting the use of the townhouse parking lot as a throughway between Center Highway and Brownstown Road, and establishing penalties for violations and authorizing police enforcement.
Motion to approve.
Second that, please.
Discussion? Only thing I had to add, so Jeff, we were doing this mostly just we had a few incidents down in the police department, I guess, where people were trying to walk and cars were cutting through at a fast pace. So that's why we're doing this. Not that we just don't want people to use the cut through. It's because there was a few almost near misses, I would say.
Correct.
All right. Any other board discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. That concludes the solicitor's report for this month.
Thank you. Township's managers report, Manager Silka.
Okay, thank you. I have a few items for this evening, Mr. President. First is action to approve the June check register.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
The June budget report is provided for your review. The next action item is action to approve the Comcast franchise fee audit settlement agreement.
motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
The next item is action to approve a separation agreement and general release with Westmoreland Sanitary Landfill LLC, County Hauling.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to authorize the township manager to execute documents to purchase a 2021 Elgin Street Sweeper for $289,910 through CoStar's contract number 25-044 and financing through Somerset Trust for 60 months at 1.59%.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to approve a resolution amending the 2021 capital budget.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion. Jeff, could you just explain what that amendment is again?
Sure. What we're doing is we're reducing a line item for office furnishings and cameras by making a net $35,000 reduction, and we're putting it for a new plotter printer for planning and to upgrade our alarm system. So it's a net zero amendment.
Thank you.
Right, so it's a wash.
Correct.
It's just taking it from one column, moving to the other column, but still it's the same amount.
Yes.
Roger that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to rescind the March 14th, 2020 coronavirus declaration of disaster emergency.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to award the Liberty Avenue Slope Stabilization Project, contract number 2021-03, to Ligonier Construction, Box 277, Locklandtown, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $89,145 per recommendation of the interim township engineer.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion. Just for the record, Jeff, this was under budget and it was part of the budget for this year, correct?
Correct. It was budgeted for $125,000.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to reduce the $171,119.45 Hollybrook Plan Set-Aside Agreement by $38,124.90, leaving a balance of $132,994.55 per recommendation of the interim township engineer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Next is action to approve the Restore Your Store on the Corridor campaign.
Action to approve?
Second.
Discussion.
I would just like to say, when I brought this up last month, what I was expecting was just like a letter, and I think that's what I said. Maybe we can send a letter out to everybody. And you guys, Manager Silka, Jonathan, whoever else was involved in that, you guys come up with this pamphlet. I think it's really good. It's beyond anything that I thought of. As I said, I just thought of a little letter sending out, just requesting everybody to jump on board with this. So you guys, I want to thank you for taking it that far. And I think it was said last week about a kickoff campaign, maybe. I think that's a good idea with social media and get the media involved in that. I think that's a great idea. So I thank you guys for doing that. And I would like to be involved in that kickoff stuff if you let me know.
Yeah, we'll probably do it the first week of August. When I get back from vacation, we'll schedule the press conference and roll out.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all.
Any other board discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Mr. President, I have one other action that's not on the agenda I'd like to bring up for consideration is the park alcohol permits, or authorize an ordinance for publication.
Motion to add to the agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor by adding it to the agenda,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. At this time, we would take any residents' input on alcohol permitting and parks, if anyone's interested.
Can we either read this, or can you post it on the board? Do you have the
Jeff,
ability to
if you
do
want,
that?
yeah, maybe if you want to read it.
Yes. Okay, at the last meeting,
Explain this to me about the alcohol permit in the parks again.
Yeah, he'll read the
Okay.
permit, and if you have a question, maybe that'll be easier to describe the permit once he reads what we have in front of us here.
at the work session, we introduced roughly 12 points to provide alcohol permits in the park for pavilion rentals. And, the board at that time, asked for a few changes on it. So what I'll do is these will be the points that be incorporated into the ordinance, and I'll highlight anything that we changed from the discussion last week. One is the beer and wine permit, a $50 permit fee with a $200 refundable deposit. 2, alcohol permits shall only be issued in conjunction with park pavilion rentals, and I've added, as it was omitted, or sponsored events in the park. 3, applicants must be 21 years of age. Beer and wine shall be the only acceptable forms of alcoholic beverages permitted. No glass bottles permitted. 6, applicants shall be responsible for leaving the facilities in a clean and presentable condition. Such condition shall be comparable to the state of the facility prior to the permitted event. 7, all other facility rules shall be adhered to, including hours of operation. 8 is the applicant must execute a hold harmless agreement. 9, the township manager has the ability to withhold all or part of the security deposit for any violations of ordinance XX, because we don't have an ordinance number, or upon any conduct requiring police or other municipal services if such conduct can be associated with alcohol consumption, or upon the recommendation of the Director of Public Works, Director of Parks and Recreation, or the Chief of Police. 10, the applicant must provide verification of age to the administration and proof of homeowner's insurance or a liability policy for the event. 11, applicant must provide a copy of liability insurance if alcohol is provided by a caterer at the park pavilion. 12, this has been added. If an event is sponsored in the parks, the sponsor has the vendors and the sponsor has the vendors that will sell alcohol. The sponsor must ensure that each vendor applies for a permit at $50, provides liability insurance, naming North Huntington Township as additional insured, and is licensed to sell alcoholic beverages. And 13, this is another one, this was added at the request of the Board of Commissioners. Consumption of alcoholic beverages shall be limited to a 20-foot perimeter around the rented pavilion. The park staff shall designate an approved area for consumption of alcoholic beverages for sponsored events within the parks. At no time shall there be consumption of alcoholic beverages outside the designated areas. And 14, alcohol applications will be completed by the township managers in no less than 3 business days.
All right, Jeff, maybe I missed something. Is there a limit on how much alcohol is allowed to be at the parks?
No.
I'm going to tell you something. My oldest brother died of alcoholism. I totally agree with Eric. There's no way the township's going to control this. And you're opening the township up to a lawsuit. With all the loose salt lawsuits, with all the communities and all the cities, this is definitely the wrong thing to do. You're exposing youth. I've been around parties. Youth go out and do the wrong things. There aren't responsible parents out there, and it's getting worse. So I'm totally against that. If you want a lawsuit against the township, go ahead. One person sneaks some illegal alcohol in there, gets drunk in the park, leaves that park, is in an accident, or injures somebody, they're coming back to the township. Me, as a taxpayer, is going to be responsible, and they're going to sue the township. I'm telling you right now, that's what's going to happen. It's a very, very bad idea. I know what I went through when my brother died from alcoholism. It's not fun. We could not get him help. It's a disease like drugs. Once you start, it's very hard to get reversed. So I'm telling you from a personal aspect, I love my brother dearly. He's gone now. If I could have done anything to prevent it, I would have. So I'm asking you as commissioners to protect the citizens of this township and say no. That's all I got to say, and that's coming from my heart right here. Thank you.
Any other residents interested in speaking on alcohol permitting in township parks? Not seeing any discussion from the board?
Jeff, could you explain the research that you did for the public, who you called with neighboring communities and their experience with this?
Yes, I mean, this is not something that we basically reinvented. We didn't invent the wheel for this. We went to Monroeville, to Murraysville, to Westmoreland County, to Penn, to White Oak. We accumulated a lot of our neighbors' permits. We used Robinson, which I was involved in at the my last job. So this is basically Murraysville's policy that's basically been going on for at least 5 years. They've had no problems with it. They've had no issues. So this isn't something original that was brought up. This was kind of a conglomeration of existing policies which we feel would fit best in North Huntington.
I would like to add, patrolling the roads of Westmoreland County for 31 years as I did, we had no issues in any county parks. Hempfield Township allows it, I believe, because there's parties that have alcohol at them. We've had no issues when I was patrolling. I've been gone for 2 years, but there was never any issues outside of the normal problems, nothing that alcohol caused. I would also like to say that Kennywood allows alcohol, and I don't see any issues at Kennywood. I was just at Kennywood a few weeks ago, and actually the beer garden was empty. There wasn't even a person sitting in there. And what more kid-friendly place do we have right now than Idlewild Park? They just started selling alcohol at Idlewild Park, too. As long as you have a regulation that controls it like we have here, I think we're okay. And to the concerns of coming back onto the township, I think line number 8 in this draft about the hold harmless agreement, as our solicitor stated last week, that would hold the township harmless. If somebody would leave there and get in an accident, we would be held harmless. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I understand the legal ramifications. Okay, so basically, let's say everything's fine and dandy. There's absolutely, positively no kickback on this township, and the township is free and clear of any lawsuits. Now, all of a sudden, I find myself worried about what happens to the people. The decisions we make up here don't just affect the actions that the board takes to protect the township, or the board takes to protect this building. It is our job to protect our 31,000 citizens. And some people might say, Eric, you're overreaching. But I listened to what Bob Morgan had to say. And I'm sorry for your loss, brother. I'm sorry. I can't live with that. And if some people say, hey, Eric, you're overreaching, then so be it. But you know what, by God, that's my opinion. And everyone in this country, thanks be to our civil rights and Bill of Rights, we have the right to voice our opinion. I'm voicing my right. I'm going to stand with Mr. Bob Morgan, and I'm going to say absolutely not. I'm voting against this. You got, that's it.
Yeah, just come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Why is there a need for this added ordinance? Why can't we be different in other communities? Stand up for what's right. Why do we need alcohol? We're fine with no smoking, but alcohol's okay? Why do is there a pressure to push the parks and the commissioners, you guys, to do this? Whose idea was this?
I believe, if you're asking for who brought this up to the board, I believe Commissioner Blasco brought it up to the board, that there was some interest brought to him.
By whom? And with whom and why?
I don't know if he's still on the line. Brian, you
His
still
phone
there?
was dying, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's there or not. Can you see if you can?
I reiterate, I think it's a big, big mistake. And you say the township can't be sued? There's been lawsuits against cities that they pay astronomical amounts of millions of dollars. How do they find a loophole to sue the cities? They're going to find a loophole to sue you guys. I'm telling you right now, the way this country and this world is, people are lawsuit happy, and God forbid nothing happens. Hopefully this ordinance doesn't get passed because I think it's totally, totally wrong. Thank you.
Any other board discussion?
I just might want to say that people have a personal responsibility. And when you're talking smoking, secondhand smoke causes cancer, and our children are using the park. people have a responsibility to control themselves whenever they're consuming alcohol. And I think that we have this pretty much covered from there. I think my only objection is I think the $50 fee is a little on the low side. I would like to see that bumped up to $100. But that's just my opinion.
I agree. I think it comes down to personal responsibility. If you're gonna drink,
Excuse me, sir, your chance to speak was already up. It's not a debate. Go ahead, Fran.
I think it comes down to personal responsibility. And I think that there are people in this township, because I have been contacted, that would like to see this happen because they have different things going on, showers, parties, and stuff like that, that they would really like to be able to offer it to their guests. And I think that's perfectly fine if that's what they want to do. But I think it just comes down to personal responsibility and accountability. And if you're going to drink, you're responsible for your own behavior.
The problem with alcohol is it's altering. It's physiologically altering somebody. People don't have a habit of stopping. If we could get everybody to come with this personal responsibility, we wouldn't have people killed on our highways and streets because of alcohol. I'm sorry to say, there are some inconsiderate people, non-governing people in this nation. We got a lot of great people, but we got a lot of people too that just throw caution to the wind and it's whatever makes them happy at the time. I have a problem burying people because of somebody else's negligence and stupidity. And that's where I come from. And I've seen it. And I'm sick of doing it.
But you also said you didn't want to control people's lives. That was one of your statements as well. Well then, don't control people's lives by telling them not to drink or drink.
Smoking will not alter somebody right there as they're smoking unless it's weed. Okay? Alcohol drinking can alter somebody within just a few minutes. This is called risk mitigation. That's why I'm voicing my opinion against this. And Fran, you know I've agreed with you a lot, but I don't appreciate you throwing that back in my face about ruling people. We have a responsibility
Eric,
to our
we cannot
kids.
mitigate every
Well,
circumstance
you did it with
in
the
the
chickens.
world.
You did it with the chickens, okay? What was wrong with people wanting to take care of their own food needs? Virginia, I love you for nodding yes with me. She's nodding north and south. That means agreeance. I still love the chickens, but I know we got shot down. Virginia, you and I went down like a flaming arrow, 2-5. But hey, it's okay. I don't harbor bad feelings about that. That's not what this is about. But man, listen, I do worry about people. I really, really do. I worry about my elderly parents. I worry about my siblings, my wife. And I worry about 31,000 people that they just go out and have a great day. And I don't know why it always takes alcohol to make people feel better and have a better time at a party. Bull crap. I'm going to end it up there, right there. Bull crap.
And I think I would add to that is that I'm about personal freedom and liberty to do, I mean, this is America, home of the free. And as long as you're not hurting somebody, I mean, if you want to put a firework off and blow your hand off, you know, God bless you. So that's where I'm looking at it. It's a personal freedom. But with freedom comes responsibility. And I think that most people are responsible out there.
I would agree with what both of you said. It's a personal decision and a personal responsibility. And to say that, I mean, I think you made a comment that once people start drinking, they can't stop. I mean,
I didn't say that.
yeah, you did, and that's wrong. The majority of the people can stop drinking. And to say because you don't like alcohol, I mean, that's putting your opinions on someone else. I can say, you know what? One thing I don't like is I don't like motorcycles. I don't like the noise from them. I don't like them coming past my house. Would I come here and say we should ban motorcycles? That's basically what I'm hearing here. But anyway, I'm in agreement also. I'd be in agreement with raising that up to $100. I do agree with that.
I guess I'll weigh in because I'm last. I've been against this from the beginning, and my concern is the safety of the kids at the parks. And that's the only reason, yeah, I don't have anything against alcohol. I don't have anything against anybody who wants to drink alcohol. I just don't want to see some kid get hurt playing on the playground because someone got drunk.
All right, Jeff, are you looking for a motion to move forward with getting that final draft?
But
for this?
wait a second. So I want to make a public statement based on Ron's statement.
here
that
we
wait, no, wait, no, hold on, Ron. Let me say, you have no idea what I'm going to say. I got drunk once in my life. There you go, America. I just came back from Iraq. I spent 15 months of my life in Iraq, and I came back, and we processed through Fort Dix, New Jersey, to come back into society. And you know what? I went out and I got drunk. First time in my life. I'm 55 years old. I've not had enough beer in my life to equal one can, but I will tell you, I still remember the 3 drinks I drank. Number 1, Irish Car Bomb. Man, it was terrible. Number 2, Grasshopper, cream de mint. And what I top it off with, a shot of Ouzo. I had no idea about alcohol. Somebody said, man, Ouzo is like licorice. It tastes good. It smells fantastic. It does. It's wonderful. But man, I'll tell you, it gave me a 1-2 punch. Man, knocked me out. I spent that night loving on the toilet, hugging onto the porcelain. And then the next morning I woke up, man, I had a banger of a headache. Couldn't stand bright lights or anything like that. It was terrible. But I'm not going to but I did. I got drunk once. And I'm going to tell you something. I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. So don't tell me I don't like alcohol. I've been known to take an occasional drink of wine, whether it's at dinner or in my privacy of my own home. But to say that I don't like alcohol, Ron, you're wrong.
No, I didn't say you didn't like alcohol,
Yes,
Eric.
you did. No, I'm against it. I'm not against it.
Played the tape back because I didn't say it. Not to get in an argument, I did not say that. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say it, Eric. I'm going to make a motion, we approve this with a $100 permit fee.
That was added to the agenda. We need a second.
I thought we added it.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'll second.
All right, I believe we discussed it unless anyone has anything else to add. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call, Manager Silka.
Commissioner Stump,
Aye.
Commissioner Atwood,
No.
Commissioner Blasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Zona,
Yes.
Commissioner Bevan,
Yes.
Commissioner Goss,
No.
Commissioner Hagas.
Yes. Motion approved, 5-2.
Yep. And that's all I have today.
All right, thank you, Manager Silka. Any further board comments tonight?
Hey, if I can, I do have one comment to what Rick said, and I should have said it at first, and I think Chief Rizzo would confirm this. If you were told that our police department cannot enforce laws on state highways, that's not true. They can enforce laws on state highway.
It said right at this meeting, where our manager said it.
No, I believe we weren't talking about speeding. We were talking about water and water problems on the highway. I would never say that because I know better than to say that.
I was very surprised because the solicitor sat there and never said a word either. And I even mentioned it to a couple of commissioners that you said it, and they said he didn't actually mean that. That's why I looked at you when I was up there talking.
Ron, I was going to address that with him
Okay.
after the meeting, and Manager Silk is very well aware of our
Yeah.
enforcement, capabilities.
I think that might have just been maybe a misunderstanding there, because they can enforce on state highways.
I remember that meeting, and I believe what Silka was talking about was private property. We were talking about shopping centers and stop signs, things on private property. The township could enforce.
All right, any other further comments from the board tonight? No announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, stay at aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:19.